It's supposed to be the most iconic music festival in the world, a yearly trip to the California desert for the best music, incredible art, and, the vibes. But in 2026, that dream turned into a full-on nightmare. This is the story of how Coachella completely fell apart. The backlash? Well, it was instant. It started online, in real time. People who were there, stuck in what they were calling a total disaster, just started flooding social media. And they didn't hold back. One Reddit user, Gorman Rupp, put it pretty bluntly: this should be a crime.
Then you had another user, Suburban Sanity, pointing out a massive failure, especially for a festival in the middle of the desert. They wrote, "The water situation is a legit emergency." Suddenly, reports of broken, totally unsanitary water stations started popping up everywhere, and the pictures started to look really grim.
Pretty soon, these individual comments weren't just comments anymore. They snowballed into this massive wave of anger. This one Reddit post title basically summed up what thousands of people were feeling. Coachella was an absolute logistical nightmare.
Okay, so for decades, Coachella has been seen as like the gold standard. It's the festival. So how in the world did it all go so spectacularly wrong in 2026? Let's dig in and break down how all these problems started stacking up, from the main stage all the way to the parking lot. So the first signs that something was off appeared in the one place you'd never expected: the performances themselves. Yeah, for an event that's famous for these massive, once-in-a-lifetime shows, the onstage experience was just weird. It was filled with bizarre choices and just a ton of technical glitches.
Let's start with headliner Justin Bieber. People were expecting this huge, polished production. Instead, what they got was Bieber basically just chilling, scrolling through YouTube on the big screen, and singing along to his own classic music videos. And the reaction was split. Critics absolutely slammed it, calling it messy and lazy. But for a lot of his fans, they saw it as this really raw, authentic moment, a kind of healing for an artist who basically grew up in front of our eyes.
Then you have another headliner, Sabrina Carpenter, who ended up in the middle of a completely different firestorm. Her set's going great, she's at the piano, and then this sound comes from the crowd that just stops her cold. She pauses and says, "I think I heard someone yodel. I don't like it." Then the fan shouts back, "It's my culture." And things got really awkward really fast.
So here's the thing. That sound, it was not yodeling, not even close. It was a zagruta. It's this high-pitched trill, a sound of pure celebration and joy in Arab, Middle Eastern, and North African cultures. So dismissing it on stage, even if she didn't mean to, immediately set off a storm online.
Now, to her credit, Sabrina Carpenter got on X pretty quickly and apologized. She explained her reaction was just confusion and not ill-intended, and that she couldn't really see or hear the person clearly. She even tried to end on a light note, saying, "Now I know what a zagruta is. I welcome all cheers and yodels from here on out." But okay, beyond the weird performances and cultural blunders, there was an even bigger problem. The tech just kept failing. I mean, Anima's entire set got canceled because of high winds. The Japanese house was a mess of sound issues. Multiple bands had mics that just didn't work. Even huge stars like Lana Del Rey and Sabrina Carpenter had equipment breaking mid-set. This wasn't just a couple of little oopsies. This was a clear pattern of technical meltdowns. And look, as bad as things were looking on stage, if you were actually an attendee on the ground, things were so much worse. For a lot of people, the festival stopped being fun and just became this brutal test of survival. Just getting home was a nightmare. People were reporting waits of over 4 hours for the shuttles. 4 hours! In past years, you'd wait maybe 20 minutes. And why? Apparently, the dedicated shuttle lane that they've always had was just gone. So the buses were stuck in the exact same traffic as everyone else. People were getting back to their hotels at 4, even 5 in the morning. It was chaos. Inside the festival, the problems were frankly alarming. This one quote from Reddit just says it all. "Lemonade is easier to find than water, and it's $16 a cup." Think about that. In the desert heat, not being able to get free, clean water isn't just an inconvenience, it's a massive safety hazard. It was just a complete and total system failure. The sanitation was a disaster, porta potties overflowing everywhere. We already mentioned the broken water stations. Security was useless, which led to dangerous crowding. The grounds were buried in trash. And on top of all that, there were reports of new, totally inexperienced contractors and security guards actually blocking access for people with disabilities. A collapse on this level doesn't just happen. It's not a fluke. It points to some really deep, fundamental mistakes in how this thing was planned and run. So what on earth actually went wrong behind the scenes at Coachella 2026?
So if you dig through all the reports from people on the ground, three main theories start to emerge. First, it seems they were severely understaffed, maybe because of a new security company that couldn't handle it. Second, tons of reports suggest they hired new and frankly incompetent contractors for really important logistics. And third, there's this growing suspicion about where the festival's priorities really are now.
Right. This idea that the festival has shifted its focus. As one user, YoungGod7, put it, quote, "The production is clearly made with the live stream in mind, prioritizing the camera over the crowd. Plenty of times." I mean, it kind of makes sense. With millions of people watching for free on YouTube, some believe the actual experience for the people who paid hundreds or thousands of dollars to be there just isn't the priority anymore. And all of this leads to a much bigger question. Was the meltdown at Coachella 2026 just a one-off disaster, or is it actually a huge warning sign for the entire megafestival industry? Think about it. As these events get bigger and bigger, more complicated, and more focused on a global live stream audience, they get exponentially harder to pull off. The whole operation becomes more fragile. You're relying on thousands of temporary workers. It's a massive vulnerability. To put it simply, the bigger the spectacle, the bigger the risk of a complete and catastrophic collapse.
So where does that leave the world's most famous festival? You know, a brand like Coachella is built on trust, and for so many people, that trust was completely shattered in 2026. The big question now is, can they actually listen, learn, and rebuild? Or was this the year the magic finally died?
Which leaves us with one last, kind of scary thought. For years, we've all just assumed that events like Coachella are too big to fail. But after the absolute chaos of 2026, you really have to stop and ask, have they actually become too big to succeed?